warm welcome once again to all friends from the entire team of Google here. Dignitaries and guests and friends who have been part of Project DIISHA for the last 2 years that we've been working together now. Vast topic, technology in terms of security, and of course, security is an aspect with technology which is it's like a two-edged sword right now. As technology grows, we all know the problems grow in terms of security, data breach. We've been hearing so much about the new personal data laws. There's the PDPDA Act coming in, and we have a lot of things around it. I would love to take any queries during our session breaks after this, because I'm sure there'll be a lot of questions around what I'm going to speak right now as to how the technology may work. Just as a quick glance, right? So we know we have digitization which is improving or increasing at a very, very fast scale in India. So what has happened over a period of time, and we have been having these discussions almost every day with the Ministry of IT and with MeitY, with law enforcement agencies. Have been having this deliberation over the almost every day, where we are talking about the pace at which the technology is growing and the pace at which we are actually able to consume it and secure it and ensure that it remains safe, it remains in the country, and it remains the way it is supposed to be. So while we have done a lot of work in digitization in terms of health records, the government has taken a lot of initiatives, and we have something called an Aadhaar ID, which most of us may know about it, some may not know about it yet. And it's linked with your Aadhaar card, and it's linked with a lot of stuff. It's linked with a lot of direct beneficiary transfers that the government is trying to make through various about 60-70 schemes that are supposed to be going out to our underprivileged population. But does it reach there? Does it really work? Where is it today, when we started? Or is it just, in the books, in the papers that we read? So just a small light on that, and how do we plan to make sure that, it gets implemented the way it is supposed to be implemented, or it was supposed to be, the intent behind it, like we say, in legal terms, not just, paperwork around it. So a quick problem statement just related to, I'll stick to, program DIISHA, although I tend to go, overboard with this. So the current validation layers in our systems are not really watertight as of now, what we are currently observing, especially in the post-COVID era, right? So we will see there's a lot of fraud that's been happening. Digital ID fraud, of course, you all know about. It's across the spectrum, but we'll stick to healthcare as of now. So some key issues. Most of the people still do not have a health ID or an Aadhaar ID, right? We have the health IDs which are there are wrongly linked to wrong mobile numbers, wrong linkage, mismatch of name and data between Aadhaar cards and Aadhaar IDs, mismatch of bank accounts linked with beneficiaries, the most common problem that we see today. There's no proof of liveliness that the beneficiary is actually even alive or not today, right? Documentations are forged. There is no locations. There is no geotagging happening. There is absolutely, we're still lacking on that side. We just kind of came up with a framework that we should have Aadhaar IDs, and that's a lovely framework to have, right? But we have bypassed a lot of other details that should have gone into it in the first place. So what is the outcome? What has happened because of this? If you see, there are sanctioned DBT budgets in thousands of crores which are lying with the state departments, which are unutilized, and then they have to be returned back.
What happens usually is, if we are doing a direct benefit transfer to a large number of people, if few of them, they never existed, they were ghost accounts. So rest of the DBT gets stuck, because until and unless you are 100% sure and it is going into right account of beneficiaries, it will not be spent. This is what is also faced by the different other verticals of development, that DBT will not happen until and unless you meet a certain amount of parameters. This makes us more important for being a platform for auxiliary self-development, auxiliary disbursement of ministries like Ministry of Women and Child Development, Ministry of Social Justice, Ministry of Disabilities, and other who have a program, who have a budget, but it is unspent. So two realization. One, I want to ask you, you will be able to answer it, that if government is willing to do an direct benefit transfer, is it good, it is possible for us to have a 100% reliable, highest degree of validation of people? And second, if after doing this data which has came out, it should be in an international level, it should be validated, authenticated, and I can say genuine data. how we are making sure?
Yes. So very valid question. And yes, so it is very much possible to validate this data. And that's really important. As I said, that the major challenges that we are facing today is that the budgets are either lying unutilized or they're going into wrong accounts. So I'll just take a minute to explain why we are not able to control this, or what actually has been the potential risks, not only unutilized funds, but also the fact sheet. I'll just present one, although there are a lot more. If you see last year's August CAG report, under just one government scheme we are talking about here, which was providing treatment for patients, had thousands of patients who were actually provided were actually not alive at that moment of time. So the beneficiary transfers were going to people who did not exist, who were not alive. The mobile number linkage, not a problem with the NHA. Again, as I said, it's not a problem because under their scheme of things, they made a very good program. They did not require a mobile number to be a part of, as a recommendation for ABHA ID. But more than 7.5 lakh beneficiaries were linked to a same mobile number, 4 times 8. Because there was a box to be filled, it was filled. Now, how do you go back and trace that beneficiary? Or if there's a fraud, or even if you detect later on that this account does not belong to that person or it has gone back, how do you go back? You can't. It's a failure in the entire system, in the whole scheme of things, right?
And in the case of health records, when we are going to do some testing, after this screening is going to happen, medical lab test is going to happen, if something unusual suspected, if something unusual came, you have to track back to that person, that what has happened. You have heard Dr. Bhushan, you have heard Vinit ji saying that there are possibilities at certain remote areas, there are bioweapons, there are chemical weapons tested. Something got infected, somebody got infected. How do you track back? So I think 2 things which I want to add is, for us it was very, very important to ascertain that people's bankability, their connection with the financial inclusion was valid or not. The data of the healthcare account which is connected to ABHA ID is genuine, it is possible. And third is traceability of that person is possible or not. If all these 3 are possible, if all these 3 are in a place, we will be able to create world's best healthcare data resource.
So before we actually get into creating health records, like I said, the first touch points which we are kind of banking upon, or we are trying to train the ASHA workers on the floor, who are actually the first touch points and the actual physical touch points with the beneficiaries, the citizens of the country as well. So what we are developing, or under DIISHA we are ensuring, is a foolproof or a watertight mechanism to firstly identify the beneficiary who says they are who they are. Right? I am who I am. I am Mrs. Mathur, or I am Mrs. How do we do that? So there is a complete set of foolproof mechanisms that have been set into place. Firstly, there is an authentication by a documentation that they have, a national level document or an ID, which is then validated not based on the ID as a physical document, but from the valid government source, that yes, this is the same person.
So Aadhaar is also checked from the source.
Yes, Aadhaar is also checked from the source directly.
Okay. When you are enrolling a new person.
Yes, the moment you start enrolling a person, you have an Aadhaar number which gets actually validated by a source. The phone number linked with the Aadhaar or the national ID is validated through an OTP, and a consent has been taken to do that authentication.
All right.
Post that, immediately what is being done is although of course the ASHA worker is there, and we trust the ASHA worker completely. However, for the records, we are going to make sure that there's a liveliness check happening at that point for records, to make sure that that person is alive. It's not like the ASHA worker goes there and can, take anybody's data or anybody's number and use it. So the genuine person has to be alive. A photograph will be taken after the liveliness check through various algorithms that are performed, and then the face match is happening. A face match with the Aadhaar number and the person who is alive is happening. So the face match is making sure that it is the same person who's standing in front of you. It is the same person with the same name, with the same ID, at the same address, which is basically, in the village where she is, through geotagging again.
So location is taken.
Location
face is
tagged,
mapped, whether
face is matched.
the ID has a old photograph,
Yes.
person has changed over a period of time.
Absolutely.
So machine is taking and giving you a percentage.
Absolutely.
Then you are also taking liveliness. That's by the blinking.
Blinking of eyes, expressions,
Hmm.
taking a smile. So there are various parameters on which a liveliness check is done.
Okay.
Once you're sure that the person is alive, the document is valid, the phone number is authenticated, the person is genuine, and then we do check for their bank accounts if they have a bank account, because as per the mandate from the government, the DBT for the DBT to get transferred, the bank account has to be in the name of the beneficiary.
Understood. So bank
not for
account
somebody
link is
else.
verified. Then
Yes.
it says Abha ID card link
Correct.
is also
So
verified.
then we actually run a check instantly that whether the person already has an Abha card valid or not.
Okay.
If they do have a Abha card or a Abha number, so there is a Abha ID and there's an Abha address which gets automatically generated. So if they already have it, it is downloaded. It is shown to the beneficiary that this is your Abha ID, this is your number, please keep it safe. And
Okay.
they are explained that under this Abha ID, these are the benefits that you're supposed to be getting from the government.
Right.
In case they do not have an Abha ID, which is probably most of the cases as of today, immediately an Abha ID is being created for them, which is again linked to their Aadhaar number. It's a unique health ID which will be created for them.
So the possibilities of having a case like this, 7.5 lakh beneficiaries linked to a same amount, a mobile number, would not be possible
Will not
now.
be possible.
Possibility of person who does not exist, there will not be account.
Absolutely.
Possibility of a person who has been infected, or these three are ruled.